Moza, he said, "What's up, Mom?" And he says, "Hey guys, on BB's suggestion, I use Loganix monthly citations for all my clients, and so far everything has been tip top in terms of service quality and client satisfaction. Clients like to see activity being done. Yes, they do. I plan to keep up the service, but do citations have diminishing returns? They seem to have no trouble finding new citation, and that's for sure. However, do these new citations still provide the same boost as the first few dozen? That's a good question. I don't know that they provide much more of a boost after a certain level, but they continue to add to the entity footprint. Does that make sense? They're additional validation signals, right? And it's a way to keep adding more nodes to your entity footprint, so to speak. And so, in my opinion, it's great just to keep going and just to keep doing that because, and what I like about Loganix citation building is they do 20 structured and 10 unstructured per month. So you end up getting, like 10 video and social media, like photo type citations. So they're different. They're not just all like directory style stuff. So that's part of the reason I like it, because it's like almost like exponential growth over time. And that's kind of what we're trying to do with what we do with the SEO Shield and everything anyway.
My question for Mohammed would be, what's he doing with these citations once he gets them? Because if all you're doing is that you're getting a mention of your website or a link somewhere out there and you're not doing anything with it to relate it to your main entity or your named entity, then it's just a waste. If you're not powering up, if you're not link building to it, if you're not in some way associating that with everything else that you're doing, then yeah, you're going to, and you're going to have diminishing returns anyway, because that's the way that links are set up. We talked about this. If you ask me this question in the Heavy Hitter Club, I can go into a lot more detail than what I can go in here. But you should know that any link that you get will have diminishing returns unless you make up for those diminishing returns. And there are a bunch of things, including schema, including putting it into your semantic hubs, adding it if it's powerful enough, or if you want to power it up. If you see it, say you get something hyper local, say something that should be relatively powerful, but it isn't. Well, you need to create those relationships so that it becomes more powerful over time. And how do we do that? Well, we do schema. We mention it. We include it in places where we're going to build links so that the power flows to that citation and through that citation to wherever it is that we're sending our signals. As Bradley said, it's part of expanding the entity footprint. And the more nodes that we can add to it, the better. But we have to create the node relationships. Right. That's why Rob's schema works better than anybody else's. We create the node relationships. If you're not doing that, Loganix or Loganix isn't going to do that for you. So you have to be the one that's in charge. You have to be the scientist, like I always say. You have to be there in the lab and start seeing how it is that you're going to create all of these relationships so that all of your citations can have a greater lasting effect over time, and so that they don't have diminishing returns.
And a quick, easy way one thing that I found to get more benefit from citations is to add them to your G sheet from your drive stack. And then you can even publish that G sheet, as a embedded doc in your ID page. And that tends to work pretty well, especially if you've been hitting your ID page with backlinks and such. I was actually taking a lot of the links, the citations, and turning them into links like in the sidebar of an ID page. And I would just use, my keyword set as the anchor text, but I would no follow all of them. But once you get past a certain number of citations, it like the ID page looks ridiculous because it's got just, hundreds of citations in the sidebar, and it's just a real long page. So I stopped doing that and started just putting them into the G sheet and then embedding that into the ID page, and that works as well, too. So it's just, again, like Marcus said, it's about creating that relationship. And with your drive stack and your G sheet, your keyword sheet, that's the one that you can use your link sheet or your keyword sheet. What I like to do is hyperlink the citation link to keyword anchor text, even if it's just market level where there's no location modifiers, because it's hosted on the G sheet for the entity anyways. So that creates the relationship, but then I'm just injecting a little bit more keyword relevancy back to those citations by hyperlinking them with keyword anchor text. And that's just kind of a quick and dirty way to get some additional kind of force the association from those citations. And it doesn't take but a minute to do. So